Hello, Emily and Sophie. So, another Agony Auntie episode. And this question is I would love help with taming, quietening, and/or killing off the shitty committee, which seems to be on the rampage in my mind at the moment. It's really tiring to have such a negative critic on my case when I feel like I'm quite a sunny, ambitious person on the whole. Any advice gratefully received. I'm glad that my expression shitty committee is getting out into common parlance.
But I use it all the
It's a good
time.
one.
That sounds a bit too light, considering it's a really horrible thing having a very critical mind. So, whilst
It's really
acknowledging that,
debilitating.
yeah. Any thoughts?
When you were talking, I was thinking about whether or not this person knows if they have the sense of who is on the shitty committee, or for them if it's just a critical voice. It's worth asking the question, I guess, where did those words come from? Who did they come from? Where did they come from?
What are the words?
What are the words? So sometimes, obviously, I can hear that what they want is obviously to get rid of it. But one of the first steps is hearing it. So what actually are they saying? What's being thrown at you, and do you recognise it? Because with most of these things, the first step is awareness. And sometimes there are things to talk about that maybe others can offer around soothing it. But also for me, I think sometimes I just have to treat my shitty committee like weather and go, I can hear you, but I'm not, like you often say this, Mum, right? Just because you feel it, it doesn't mean it's true. Just because your mind is saying it doesn't mean it's true. And so allowing the thoughts, but just not investing in them. So like it's clouds
Being
in the
mindful.
sky, right? It's weather through life. It doesn't mean it. You don't need to give it weight, or you can give yourself permission not to give it weight and go, oh, hello, there you are. I know you show up. And I find that just even for myself quite helpful, not investing in the words.
Really good idea.
Yes, I mean, I really agree about like it would be lovely to take a firing squad
And
to
kill
the
it.
shitty committee and have a lovely clear brain.
It lets us know that she might be quite angry, though, doesn't it?
But I also think that if you did that, it would probably be like some sort of horror movie where it would just like come back, like even
Bigger.
louder and more horrible. So I think I really agree with what Soph is saying, that I think basically telling it to shut up or executing it doesn't really work just because there's a message there, that there's a voice that came from somewhere, probably, I mean, I know this is maybe therapist cliche, but probably somewhere in your childhood or like earlier relationships, either from yourself because of whatever was going on, or from people around you. So I think those voices kind of like don't need to be believed, but need to be acknowledged. The other thing that I would be curious about is that it sort of sounds like they've got louder recently. Like it sort of sounds like very shouty. And so I would also maybe be reflective of other things that have gone on that have kind of turned up the volume of the shitty committee as a kind of just way of kind of making sense of, why are these voices getting louder now? Am I trying to do something that I have internalized I am not supposed to be able to do? Like whether that's work, whether that's relationship wise, like what is it that's kind of pressed their button? Because I think it would help kind of make sense of what is going on for you internally. And usually the sort of shitty committee, it kind of gets in the way of stuff. And I think to be curious about what is it trying to get in the way of, and possibly why.
Another framework that you could look at and is Dick Schwartz, Internal Family Systems, IFS. And he's written a book, No Bad Parts. And what he basically talks about is that we develop these parts that can be protective parts and exiles with kind of experiences and feelings that we've had in the past. And they come in to stop us feeling bad, but they then become, like, it could be an addictive part. It could be a part that is shouting at you to be good because you were sort of frightened as a child, and it's shouting at you to get on, keep going. And so what he talks about is, it isn't like trying to shout back at the parts and quieten them, but ask them, what is their intention for you? And how old do they think you are? And could you really appreciate what they've been trying to do for you? And could you ask them just to step back and to see what's beneath the protector or the firefighter? So this may sound a bit too complicated to say in a very quick agony auntie, but I would look at, I think we all often think about ourselves as parts, and that how they originally formed is how they can show up, and that they may no longer serve their purpose, but we have to interrogate them and be kind to them to get them to unblend.
The only thing I think I'll add for a more sort of immediate relief is me and Mum, actually, we went to see Christina Neff at School of Life, didn't we? And she had this moment where she asked everybody in the room to put both their hands on their heart. And you could just feel like the whole room go, oh, sort of
Yeah.
your head sort of goes towards your heart and you sort of soften and stay there for time enough to be able to
Breathing.
feel your hands on your heart, and the sensation of that. It's quite hard to really attack yourself while you're holding your own heart at the same time. So if you're having a sort of brutal moment and you just feel like you're being shredded from the inside, that can be a nice softening. Or actually, a client shared with me this week who's reading her book, is research to show that if you stroke yourself, so I'm sort of crossing my arms and putting my hands on the side, like you're giving yourself a stroke on the arms, that has been shown to release oxytocin and to soothe, even though it's you doing it to yourself, right? So a bit like holding your heart, stroking your arms.
Or tapping, I imagine, butterfly tap.
Or more EMDR tapping. Could just maybe access a few sort of pathways for immediate soothing.
Yes, and if that's not like the vibe that you're in, I think that works really well. I think sometimes I find those things hard when I'm a bit more ragey,
Heightened.
and I'm like, F this, like tapping myself. Exercise, shout it, sort of bodily release.
Running, kickbox, hitting a ball.
Anything.
Screaming.
Anything intense, even if it's
Squats.
5 minutes.
In a pillow, bashing a pillow, and then do something soothing after.
Yeah.
Sure, whatever.
Do something soothing up.
As you can see that we're different, you have to find your own way. What
Me and
works
Mum
for
are
you?
quite keen on touch as soothing, aren't we? I'm not sure it's so much Emily's bag.
Yeah, I mean, it depends who's doing the touching.
At the time.
A bit more fussy.
Yeah. There's a hypnotherapy image that you could see your mind as a panel, and you can actually actively dial down the different voices on your panel and dial up the ones that you want. And that does sometimes work. That every time you kind of hear your shitty committee, you kind of see the image and you take a breath and you dial it down, and then you take a breath and then you kind of move your attention somewhere else. So that's another little tool if that's helpful. But thank you for asking, and thank you everyone who sends in our questions. Do send in more. My Instagram is good at Julia Samuel MBE. Thank you all for listening so much. And if there are episodes or these Agony Aunties that you want to share, do please share them with your friends and family, and help us be found by rating and subscribing to the podcast. But mainly, thank you for listening.